Hello, I'm Edward October. Over the years, I've narrated more ghost stories, horror shows, and creepypastas than I can count. And yet, the crimes discussed on our true crime podcast managed to scare the shit out of me. This program is not suitable for children or the faint of heart. If you are such a person, go ahead and switch off this podcast. Listen to something else. Are you still with us? Well, we've warned you.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Cam. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you very much for asking.
Good. Staying cool?
I'm always cool. I've been cool since birth. Yeah,
right.
No, everything's good. Yeah, everything's good.
I got a case for us today.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
Got some local ties to us here in the Missouri area. So buckle up. Let's go. You ready?
Yep, I am.
On Sunday, April 23rd, 1992, Tammy Jo Zywicki, a 21-year-old college student, had just dropped off her 19-year-old brother, Daren, at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. Now, the siblings had been traveling from the East Coast, and Tammy was eager to return to college. During their journey, the car, a white 1985 Pontiac T1000, had been experiencing some issues, requiring frequent stops to either add oil or water or let it cool off. After staying the night with Daren in Evanston, Daren advised Tammy to monitor the vehicle closely on her journey back to college and to pull over to a rest stop if it acted up, especially given the August day's heat. Tammy was returning to school early because she was a photographer for the yearbook staff and wanted to begin capturing photos of the fall sports. She was a student at Grinnell College in Grinnell, Iowa, double majoring in Spanish and art history. Having just returned from a semester abroad where she studied in Spain, Tammy was particularly excited to begin her senior year. Tammy was diligent about calling her parents upon reaching her destination. However, they weren't really overly concerned on Sunday night when they did not hear from her. They just assumed she got back to school, was excited to see her friends, went out with them, hanging out, lost track of time. By Monday morning, her parents, Joanne and Hank, did begin to worry. Joanne started to make several phone calls to Tammy's friends at college. One of Tammy's friends, who affectionately called her Z, even left a message for her urging her to call her mom because her mom was concerned. Hank, a civil engineer, and Joanne, a homemaker, always welcomed their children's friends into their homes. Like my neighbors used to say, same thing about you, Jen. When our kids were little and they'd always have the neighbor kids over, my neighbor kids loved to come to my house because I always had the good snacks. My mom doesn't buy that stuff. You guys have the good snacks.
Same here. And we were a free feeder. You just go to get it what you need.
You know where it is. Help yourself. Now, after Joanne reached out to friends and failed to gather any information about Tammy's whereabouts, she contacted the Grinnell police and requested assistance locating Tammy's car. Unbeknownst to the family, at approximately 5:05 p.m. on that very Sunday, an Illinois state trooper had pulled over to check on a white 1985 Pontiac parked on the westbound shoulder of I-80. The car appeared abandoned and was locked, with nothing suspicious visible. The vehicle was towed the following day around 2 p.m., and by 7 p.m. that evening, police identified the car as having belonged to Tammy. In a state of panic, Tammy's parents filed a missing persons report. The report included her physical description, the clothing that she was last seen wearing, and details about her jewelry, $150 in cash, missing credit cards, and a missing camera. Her watch, a Loris brand musical wristwatch that played the tune, this is going to take you back, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, was also
They Keep
missing.
Falling, from
I've been singing
Butch
that
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
all day. Been singing it all day.
I had a little music box that played that.
The following day, Tuesday, August 25th, Hank informed his employer about the situation. The boss, of course, recognizing the distress that the family was in, arranged to have Hank and Joanne fly to Iowa. He knew that they could not drive. His boss, by the way, I think really came in well, getting fellow coworkers to kind of watch the house and keep everything safe so that Hank and Joanne could concentrate on trying to find Tammy. On Wednesday, numerous students from Grinnell College, as well as other outlying colleges, volunteer to join forces and search the area for any signs of Tammy. They also distributed missing person flyers. Now, at the same time, the Illinois State Police employed dogs and helicopters to search for anything, any sign, anywhere around the area of I-80, which was where her car was located. While the parents were staying with friends in Chicago, the family turned to the media to plead for assistance in finding their loving daughter, Tammy. Tammy's brothers joined Joanne and Hank, and that would be Dean, who was age 25, Todd, who was 26, and then the baby brother, Daren, who she had dropped off at school, who was 19. In an emotional appeal, the oldest brother, Todd, looked directly into the camera and begged, quote, "Tammy, if you see this, just hang on." Dean added, "We're coming for you. If someone's holding her, they won't be able to get far. Putting up with 3 brothers all the time, she can handle herself pretty well." The police had received reports from witnesses who claimed to see a man with a truck near mile marker 83 on I-80 between 3 and 4 p.m. on that Sunday she would have went missing. The truck was described as a white 5-axle semi-tractor trailer with 2 brownish diagonal stripes on both the tractor and the trailer. Witnesses also observed a man talking to a young blonde woman as they looked inside at the car's engine. The man was described as a white male, around 6 feet tall, with dark, bushy hair. Another witness would come forward. Robert Bullington, a truck driver from Iowa, reported to authorities that he observed Tammy entering a gray Chevrolet Celebrity driven by a solitary male. Now, Robert talked with the driver, who explained that the young woman's car had overheated. Robert advised the driver to stop at a truck stop in LaSalle. However, when police investigated the truck stop, no one could recall seeing Tammy there. Or maybe she just never made it there. With this new information, more flyers were created and distributed. Once again, students hurried to area gas stations and truck stops to post the flyers, hoping to find some leads. Family and friends still held out hope that Tammy would be found alive and well. However, those hopes were shattered 9 days after Tammy's disappearance on Tuesday, September 1st. A 37-year-old man named Lonnie DeMott was driving on I-44 just outside of Joplin, Missouri. When it started to rain, he pulled over at an exit to check on the tools in the bed of his truck. As he was outside, a rancid odor caught his attention. Looking around, he noticed a blanket in a patch of grass, covering what appeared to be a body. Lonnie quickly drove to the nearby state patrol office and reported his discovery. He and an officer returned to the scene, where the officer confirmed that it was indeed a body wrapped in a twin-size sheet that was duct tape on both ends, thereby sealing it. Lawrence County Coroner Don Latkin was tasked with examining the body. He determined that the deceased was a female somewhere between the ages of 16 and 24. The badly decomposed body was clothed in a blue T-shirt with Eastside Eagles Soccer 1989 on the front, blue cut-off sweatpants, athletic socks, and no shoes. The autopsy would reveal 7 puncture wounds that had penetrated the lungs, liver, and pericardial sac around the heart. The right bicep was also punctured, and there was some discoloration around the right side of her neck. The stab wounds were, how should I describe, strangely dispersed, clustered in a circle around her heart. The stabbing had been inflicted with a small but sharp object, causing the victim to die from internal bleeding. The wounds presented a very distinct pattern, and there were very few defensive wounds found on her body, which was strange. The murder weapon, by the way, has never been found, and the exact location of Tammy's murder remains unknown. But the lack of defensive wounds suggests that she may have been taken by surprise or restrained during the attack. It's at this point that investigators conclude that Tammy was not killed near the location where her body was discovered along I-44. They believe she was stabbed to death elsewhere and that the perpetrator transported her body across Illinois and Missouri before discarding it in the underbrush along that access road on I-44. Joanne and Hank held on to hope that the body found was not their daughter because, you know what? The clothing didn't match what her brother Daren had last seen her in. Unfortunately, on September 3rd, police confirmed that the body was indeed Tammy. Tammy Jo Zywicki was born in Pleasant Hill, Pennsylvania in Lebanon County on March 13, 1971, to Joanne and Hank. She had 2 older brothers and was later joined by a younger brother, Daren. Tammy grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, but the family moved to Marlton, New Jersey after she graduated from Eastside High School in Greenville in 1989. The move was due to a job promotion for Hank. Before starting college, Tammy worked at a Blockbuster Video. She had a passion for soccer and photography. Tammy would be laid to rest in West Newton Memorial Cemetery following a Catholic service. Given the nature of Tammy's abduction and murder, the FBI joined the investigation alongside the Illinois State Police and Missouri investigators. At this point in time, Hurricane Andrew had been pretty much dominating the news, but that had seemed to die down a little bit, so national media outlets began to pick up Tammy's story. Joanne and Hank even appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show to discuss the issue of women being murdered on America's freeways. America's Most Wanted also highlighted Tammy's case, generating numerous tips, particularly about the truck seen near her that day. Over 60 witnesses claimed to have seen Tammy on that hot Midwest afternoon, with reports of several individuals, both men and women, stopping to offer assistance in various vehicles. Several individuals reported seeing someone who resembled Tammy in various locations. For instance, a clerk at a Mendota hotel recalled a young blonde woman who looked like Tammy, asking about room rates and availability. The woman told the store clerk that she was actually on her way to college in Iowa and had mentioned that her car had broken down and that a nice trucker had offered her a ride to her boyfriend's house in Wisconsin. Although the police followed up on this lead, it led to no significant progress. Just like many of the other leads in the investigation. You see where this is going?
Mm-hmm.
Joanne meticulously kept a log of all the developments in the case, including new leads and offers of assistance from private investigators. She referred to it as her Bible. Despite the ongoing search, the family attempted to return to some semblance of normalcy. The boys went back to college, and Hank went back to work. This transition was challenging, as Tammy's belongings remained untouched in the home. Her room was filled with clothes, posters, and photos of her with family and friends. Her 2 beloved cats wandered the house searching for her. One afternoon, a reporter visited the home to interview Hank. Sitting beneath a collage of Tammy's school photos, Hank shared that although he had received the autopsy report, he chose not to discuss that his only daughter had also been sexually assaulted. Instead, he expressed his thoughts on the perpetrator, saying, quote, "There are always those who feel sorry for the criminal. I don't think I could forgive this person. I think I could be the one to execute him." Jim Aherns, the former Grinnell police chief, now turned private investigator, contacted Hank and Joanne to offer assistance. Now, he had developed some theories about the case, believing that the killer was likely a truck driver due to the location where Tammy was found. He also suspected that the perpetrator had a history of similar crimes and was determined to catch him before he could strike again. The investigator had been studying trucking companies and analyzing their common routes to try to find some leads. As the holiday season approached, the family worked hard to create some joy, especially for the boys. However, Tammy's absence was deeply felt. Joanne described Thanksgiving as rough, acknowledging the family's struggle with the permanent loss. Quote, "We're not particularly religious. We just try to work things out. Hank and I have had our moments, but we don't give up. I've had rough nights, and sometimes I forget to make dinner. Hank tends to keep his feelings in. The boys seem to be managing." Christmas was even more challenging, but the family persevered. Joanne planned to speak to some criminology students at Stockton State College in Pomona, New Jersey, the day before what would be Tammy's 22nd birthday. And this was to honor her daughter, Tammy, and ensure her story would never be forgotten. She aimed to share Tammy's story, but also express her frustration over the unsolved case and highlight that only 2 investigators remained. Joanne hoped to keep Tammy's memory alive and ensure that her daughter's death would lead to meaningful change. And I have to add here, when this first started, I said Illinois, the FBI, and Missouri investigators were on, and I believe it was a total of 14. Now it's down to 2.
Oh, wow.
On Monday, May 24th, the day Tammy would have graduated from college, Hank and Joanne attended the college graduation ceremony. Tammy was honored as a member of the graduating class of 1993. While this would have been a significant milestone for Tammy, her family was left grappling with the pain of her absence and the ongoing uncertainty about when her killer would be brought to justice. As the first anniversary of Tammy's disappearance approached, the family was still without answers. They discovered that crucial evidence may have even been lost. According to reports, there was a gas station near where Tammy's body had been found, and witnesses there had seen a truck matching the description that the police had been given. Although police had claimed to have collected receipts from the gas station, they didn't. They did not. And we know that that could have very much been identifiable information, such as credit card numbers, signatures, what have you.
They didn't collect it, or they lost
they didn't.
them?
They kind of said they did, but they didn't.
Oh, liars.
And this is why Illinois State Police Master Sergeant Harold Hendrickson admitted they were, quote, stretched too thin, leading to the case going cold.
Oh, Jesus. Trouble sleeping? Yeah, that's a huge problem for so many people. I know it was for me. There's so many nights that I'd lay awake staring at the ceiling while my husband snored beside me, or if I did fall asleep, I would only sleep for a few hours. It was really horrible. Not only did it affect my day-to-day life, but it wreaked havoc on my mental health. Poor sleep can exacerbate issues like depression and anxiety, and it creates just a cycle that's really hard to break. That's why I'm thankful for Sleep Cream.
Made in the USA, Sleep Cream is a natural alternative to traditional sleep aids. There are no pills to take, just a topical cream you can rub on your neck. Sleep Cream uses only the highest quality CBD, isolate, and organic essential oils to calm your mind and help you fall asleep so you can wake up feeling revitalized and ready to take on the day. But don't worry, there's no THC in Sleep Cream, so you won't fail a drug test or feel high.
I invite everyone who, like me, has problems falling and staying asleep to try Sleep Cream for just a couple of nights to see how it works for you. And if you don't experience better sleep, Sleep Cream will refund your purchase, and it's as simple as that. You don't have to return anything at all. So what do you have to lose except another night's sleep?
Go and order a bottle at sleepcream.com. Use code OTCPodcast, all one word, at checkout to save $20 on your first order. That's sleepcream.com.
Order your bottle today at sleepcream.com. That's sleepcreme.com, and use code OTCPodcast, all one word, at checkout to save $20 on your first order. Seriously, go now. Go and order a bottle at sleepcream.com, sleepcreme.com. Use code OTCPodcast, all one word, and use that code at checkout and save $20 on your first order. sleepcream.com.
Here's a little thing that I think we've talked about this little organization before on the podcast, but I'm not sure. But here we go. In 2015, the case was revisited by the Vuck Society. What is the Vuck Society, Jen? I got you. This is an organization dedicated to solving cold cases. The Vuck Society was founded in 1990 by 3 men, a prison psychologist, a former U.S. Customs Service special agent, and a forensic sculptor. Now, they would initially meet over lunch to discuss crimes and mysteries, things that they thought were interesting, kind of play off each other, see if they could solve it or, kind of just guess, I guess, what happened and how it unplayed. Well, the group has since grown to include over 150 members from various fields, focusing primarily on cold cases. Named after Eugene Francois Vuck, a pioneer of modern criminal investigation, the society honors his contributions, including developing ballistics science and innovative crime scene techniques. Vuck, once a thief who became an informant and later founded a private detective agency, laid the groundwork for many investigative methods we use today. Now, the Vuck Society is actually pretty hard to get them to review your case. They receive over 100 cold case submissions annually, but they only approve 11 cases yearly. To present a case, officials must submit detailed information and often present it in person during the Society's monthly luncheons. Tammy's case was presented to the Vuck Society, and it lasted for 3.5 hours. The discussion included case details, possible suspects, and crime scene photos, among other things. One suspect considered was Lonnie Bierbrot, a truck driver from Missouri with family near LaSalle, close to where Tammy was found. At the time of Tammy's disappearance, Lonnie was reportedly at home in Missouri, just minutes away from where her body was found. Lonnie, age 32, had an extensive criminal record, including armed robberies and multiple 20-year sentences, before being released on parole. Lonnie drove a Kenworth truck, and, wouldn't you know it, Jen, that blanket in which Tammy's body was wrapped up in had a Kenworth logo. Maybe it's a quinky dink. I don't know.
It's a big one, yeah.
So Lonnie told investigators that he had even been near the spot on I-80 where Tammy was last seen on the day of the abduction. The blanket in which Tammy's body was found also had the logo, like I said, and that logo was the same on Lonnie's truck. Despite these connections, no physical evidence, such as fingerprints or hair, could link him to Tammy's remains, leading to, that's right, his release and the case remaining unresolved at this point. Even more intriguing, Lonnie sold his truck shortly after having it deep cleaned following Tammy's murder. Despite these suspicious circumstances, Lonnie was never charged in connection with Tammy's case and died in 2002 at the age of 41 from either cancer, like his obituary said, or AIDS, which I found in an article. A witness did come forward identifying Lonnie Bierbrot, and that's not Bierbrot like you eat, but Bierbrot, Bierbrodt, as someone seen with Tammy on the day she disappeared. However, when questioned by police, Lonnie would be released because his wife claimed that he was in Missouri with her at the time of the abduction and murder. But we'll circle back to that in a minute. Retired Illinois State Police investigator Marty McCarthy said several times there was compelling circumstantial evidence that Lonnie was their man. McCarthy told the Des Moines Register in 2014 that the Illinois State Police and FBI appeared to give up on Lonnie as a suspect after the 20th anniversary of Tammy's death. McCarthy said that initially the Illinois State Police Director from 2011 to 2015 contacted him regarding Tammy's case, and he was thrilled. It seemed promising. It was going to get back open. It was going to be solved. However, this is where we wrap that back around. After contacting Lonnie's wife, the one that gave him the alibi, she refused to talk to authorities, and the police dropped it. Here's a little interesting note, Jen. Apparently, a co-worker of Lonnie's wife told police that one day his wife came to work with a new musical watch, one that was very similar to Tammy's watch that went missing and played that song, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. Now, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not.
It's a lot of coincidences.
And the witnesses, so that maybe it's false, maybe it was a similar watch, we don't know. In 2015, Illinois State Police Master Sergeant Jeff Padilla said he believed Tammy's killer is still alive. Quote, "We are treating this investigation as a brand new investigation. Ideally, the hope is that DNA that had been taken at the time that she was murdered, but the DNA obviously had not come as far as it is today. He's hoping that someday they'll get a hit and we'll all have our answer. But that day has not happened yet." Another significant suspect in the case was Clark Perry Baldwin, a cross-country trucker arrested in 2020. Baldwin's DNA linked him to murders of 3 other women from the 1990s. Despite his arrest and connection to the other murders, investigators soon ruled him out as a suspect in Tammy's case, and they didn't exactly say why. Baldwin was apprehended in Waterloo, Illinois, after being identified as the prime suspect in those murders. And those murders took place in Wyoming and Tennessee. He had previously been arrested in 1991 for raping a 21-year-old at gunpoint, but the charges were dropped when the state could not find the victim. That happens so often.
It does.
I'm sure they don't want to relive it. Yet another possible suspect is a man by the name of Bruce Mindenhall. And Mindenhall is a convicted murderer and serial killer. Arrested in Tennessee in July 2007, he was found guilty in 2010 of the June 26, 2007 murder of Sarah Hulbert. As a long-haul trucker, Mindenhall's truck contained the blood and multiple other things from the murdered or missing women. He was charged with the murders of the women at the truck stops in Alabama, Indiana, and Tennessee, which, as you can see, is very Midwest, if you know what I'm saying, very close to us. He also was, at the time, under investigation for several more murders in other states, including Georgia, Illinois, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. DNA evidence would eventually link him to 5 different women. Mindenhall targeted mostly young sex workers, and eventually he implicated himself in multiple murders. In 2018, he was found guilty of first-degree murder in Tennessee and received a life sentence. Despite his convictions, Jen, Mindenhall denies being a serial killer and claims his only guilt was in trusting a cop. I guess that DNA with the women, that was just...
That doesn't count.
Journalist and TV personality, we know this is our friend, William Phelps, did a podcast, which was a bonus episode on his podcast, Paper Ghost, on the case, and he mentioned that a police officer may have been the one responsible. Unfortunately, the information provided by the unnamed source that gave Phelps the lead was kind of inaccurate. There were some inconsistencies, and because of that, an arrest was not made. You know, it's been 30 years since Tammy was murdered, and although Tammy's case is still featured on the FBI's website and even has a $50,000 reward, her case remains open, but very cold. There have not been any new prime suspects to come to the surface. Even today, the community tries to keep Tammy's memory alive with motorcycle rides through the mountains of South Carolina, as well as across multiple states to raise awareness of the unsolved murder of Tammy. One group has been hosting these events in Illinois for several years and began hosting their own rides, riding from Holly Springs to Georgia to Cherokee, hoping to get the word out. South Carolina organizer Marianne Fox says, quote, "I just ask if you know something, please come forward. Her family, her friends, her mother Joanne, her brothers would like to have some closure and to be able to move forward knowing that her case is finally solved." There's also a Facebook group, Jen, that keeps up with any updates concerning the case, and it's actually pretty active. The name of the group is Who Killed Tammy Zywicki. And in fact, in a posting just 4 days ago, we're recording on August 4th, by the way. So 4 days ago from August 4th, which would be 4 days ago, there was a happy birthday wish to Joanne, who is celebrating her birthday, and it had a birthday cake and a photo of her. She's still there, hoping to find some answers. Sadly, Tammy's father, Hank, passed away in 2015. Today, like I said, and this is so unusual for me because the unsolved cases, they just drive me bonkers because I just don't understand it, especially in Missouri here. This case still remains unsolved. Anyone with any information about Tammy's case should contact the Illinois State Police at 815-726-6377, or you can call the FBI's Chicago office at 312-421-6700. You can even send a message via tips.fbi.gov, and that's tips, T-I-P-S, as in, a tip. And that's the story of Tammy. I just hope maybe somebody, the distinctive truck, I'll put it in the show notes. You can't miss it. It's got 2 giant brown stripes down the side. Very distinctive.
I would think the truck is long gone by now.
Oh, he sold it. It is. But I'm thinking if somebody, who knows? Maybe somebody else was going to college that day and they saw her. They
saw an odd-looking truck, yeah.
She had to have been on the side of the road for quite a long time because, like I said, the police said that over 60 witnesses came forward. And these witnesses would recall seeing men pull over and help her, women, people with families, like several people had pulled over to try to assist. And it went all the way from, big rig truckers, all the way to little convertibles, to cars, all sorts of people. There are some people that saw some stuff, but there's just so much out there and so much time has passed. I worry that unless we get a DNA hit, we're never going to know.
No, but there's always hope, and we need to keep that hope for her mother.
Every single person you walked past on the street, you would think, did they do that? Did they do that? Did they harm my baby?
And why? I mean, the why is the big answer. Why would they do that? Why would they hurt somebody?
Exactly. There are some of the stuff I was reading, there's policemen that are pretty sure they know who did it, but they just can't link it. And a big part of those people are Lonnie, the truck driver.
Mm.
Not the one that, initially found her, but the other one that they interviewed and couldn't really tie him to it.
There was a lot of circumstantial evidence, correct? His wife had the watch, correct?
Wife with the watch. He's since passed on. Why would she not talk to police? You never know.
Unless she doesn't know, or she might know and not want to admit it to herself. Who knows?
That's what I think.
There's those two big coincidences are big enough coincidences that make you wonder.
That's an unusual watch. And I know the watches were hot in the 80s and 90s, but even a watch that plays music, that would be something that if a coworker showed you, I think that would stick out in your mind.
And Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head was very popular in the 70s, early 80s, 90s, and 2000s. So
it wasn't Hammer Time, right?
It wasn't.
Nope.
No.
So like I said, I never do these because they're just hard on the heart. I don't like it. I don't like any of them, but really
they
don't.
Need to be solved.
Yeah, they do. And I just think with the DNA, and I mean, it is seriously weekly that I open the news and DNA wins again and another cold case is solved. So that's what I'm hoping. I just hope we get some answers for the family. That's it. That's what I got for you today.
Very nice. Well, hopefully it'll get solved soon. So, Cam, I know this is a stupid question to ask you, but what have you been watching?
Heck yeah, Jen. Okay, I got some recommendations for the good listeners. So I finished BMF, which is on Starz, and that stands for Black Mafia Family, based on a true story. Amazing. I loved it. And I'm so happy they have a new season coming out next year. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, another series, Jennifer, that you absolutely have to watch, okay? And it's on Apple. It takes place, I do believe, in Ireland. It's called Bad Sisters.
I've watched it.
Oh, I loved it. Did you like it?
I did.
I loved it.
I did like it.
Okay. And then I'm watching The Morning Show. I'd already seen the first season with Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon and those guys and Steve Carell, who I've absolutely loved. But I had not watched season 2 or season 3. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I've been doing. And then I'm watching the Cowboy Cartel show, which who knew? So the cartel, I'm kind of just in this, just started it this morning. You always think of the cartel with drugs, but they have to launder that money somehow. So what better way to do it than show
Cowboys?
Ponies?
Oh, show ponies. Like quarter horses and stuff like that.
Yes. Not, I guess racing would be the correct term, but show ponies, I just wanted to say fancy because I fancied it up. But racing. Jen, you and I are terrible at math, like our adventures to Vegas. Call me crazy, but when you buy a horse for $825,000 and then sell it for $25,000, maybe somebody needs to look into that. I'm just saying.
You could be a bad businessman, right?
With ties to the Mexican cartel.
Yeah.
So there's that. They have footage of the brand new FBI agent, cute as can be, and green. He's not that young anymore, obviously, and they're interviewing now, but it's just kind of entertaining. So anyway, that's what I've been watching. What about you?
To tell you the truth, I've not really been watching much of anything. I did pick up a subscription to BritBox a while back. So there is new seasons on there of a show that I like called McDonaldson and Dodds. It's kind of like a odd couple type pairing of detectives type thing. A woman from London meets the blathering man from Bath, and they're in Bath and they're solving crimes. So it's kind of like a little
is it fun?
Murder, She Wrote type thing. It's kind of quirky, kind of funny. Yeah, I like it so far. I watched the first season a long time ago, and now they have 2 more seasons, or they have 4 seasons actually, but I think only 2 are on BritBox. I'm not sure, but it's a lot of fun. I've been watching that. Other than that, not really anything. I started Wicked Little Letters last night with Olivia Colman. I got halfway through it, and then everybody came home, and I had to stop watching it. I love Olivia Colman. I think she's fantastic.
I know we're recording early, but you're not getting this till September, but I go back to school in a week and 2 days, Jen, and I got the Sunday scaries already. I just can't.
It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. It's
always fine, but
Just got to go back to work. And that's the part that sucks is going back to work.
Yeah. I mean, I can't complain as a teacher, but yeah.
And actually, as you all are listening to this, Camille and I are landing in Scotland to see Nico and Jesse's wedding. So
Nico, for those of you that I'm sure you know, but he's our editor, and Jesse's the love of his life. And they're tying the knot.
And Jesse helps us with quality control too. So Jesse makes us look great.
Jesse tries to make us look great, but it's us after all.
Nico and Jesse are the reason why.
There you go.
So anyway, that's it. That's all I got.
We'll fill you in on our adventures from Scotland. But until then, remember, lock your doors.
Keep passing by those open windows.
Bye-bye.
Love ya.
Today's episode was researched and written by me, Cam. For more information about this episode, as well as all the sources I used, please check out our show notes or the podcast website at ourtruecrimepodcast.com. Our True Crime Podcast is developed and created by hosts Jen and Cam. Original music and audio mix of all our True Crime Podcast episodes is courtesy of Nico Vertesi from We Talk of Dreams. Listener discretion is provided by Edward October from October Pod VHS. Our True Crime Podcast is executive produced by Nico Vertesi and Dick Vane. Make sure to like and subscribe to Our True Crime Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. We can be reached on Instagram and Facebook at Our True Crime Podcast or on Twitter at Our True Crime Pod. You can email us at ourtruecrimepodcast@gmail.com. If you really like the show, make sure to check out our Patreon at Our True Crime Podcast. Our True Crime Podcast is an OTC production.